maximum, or should commissioners simply use their own discretion when to bid? Would you want me to repeat the question?
I think that's you.
It's you. You start. Let's start with you this time.
What was the question?
Okay, I'll repeat it. Should the commission always bid on equipment and services over the statutory maximum, or should commissioners simply use their own discretion when to bid?
No, that's a tricky question. I would say that there should be some guidelines, otherwise you would be tempting some people too much. So there should be some guidelines on how much they spend. Is that what you're asking?
Well, this was the question. I mean, this was whoever wrote the question, that was what they were asking. Okay? And that's your answer. All right, Mr. Stokes, what would you, how do you respond to that?
Can you read it one more time?
Should the commission always bid on equipment and services over the statutory maximum?
Right.
Or should commissioners simply use their own discretion on when to bid?
I think that we need to make sure that we're spending our money for the people of Payne County in the wisest ways. The only way to know what is the best deal, what is the best price, is to have bids. If it's toilet paper and light bulbs, I don't know that we need to do that. But I think if the amount is anywhere near that the amount required by law, I would definitely open it up to a bid process. I think we should do it more than we are right now. It's the only way to guarantee that we're spending our money in the best possible ways.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Redding?
This is actually an area that is incredibly covered by the law. Pretty much any instance of anything that you want to purchase, there's a law for it, and it covers it. And most of the time, if you're over the limit, you do bid. But I can tell you right now that I am in the process of doing a sole provider bid, which basically means there's only one person in the state that's qualified to do it. There's only one person in the state that is authorized to do it. And the amount of money is right underneath one level in one set of laws and above it in another set. But I just talked to the Deputy Director of Purchasing, Central Purchasing for the state of Oklahoma today. And he said that given the situation that we're in, given the need that we have for this one product to keep our building and our jail and our courthouse operating, that we can use the sole source contract for that. Now, this is probably going to be a little bit of a, oh no, he's not bidding. But we have two things running against us. One is time, in that we have a very limited amount of time and a 2-week lead time to get this system in place. The other thing, though, is the randomness of the power in Stillwater due to the squirrels, due to snakes, due to trees, due to lightning, due to just random acts of nature and people. We have experienced in this building, and actually this block, power outages that have taken out all of the sensitive electronics. And if we don't get this system as quickly as possible, we run the risk of having to shut down the buildings for a period of time until the new system is in place.
But Yahweh ran them up.
Okay, the next question, then, and we start with you, Mr. Redding. What transportation improvement projects will be completed in the future if the 1/2 cent sales tax is renewed?
The 1/2 cent sales?
That is what the question said. Is that an inaccurate question?
Well, but I can answer to a point.
Okay.
In general, the road commissioners, Commissioner Bradley and Commissioner Cabot, have 5-year plans that they put into place, and obviously by the name you can tell they plan 5 years out, of the roads and bridges and the projects that they have that need funding, that need addressing, and those are constantly monitored but generally followed, which means that as conditions change, the order may change, But that's the plan. That's where the money is being planned to spend. The county commissioners as a whole have a very good record of planning ahead and being very transparent, incredibly transparent, about how they plan on taking care of their roads and bridges. The general public can read about it in the paper, they can call their commissioners and ask, they can just go down to the barn and look to see what roads and what bridges are in the works for future funding. One of the things that really concerns me is the state level, in an effort to balance the budget, have been taking money from those pots. These things are very expensive, and it takes time to save that money up. And when the legislature sees that pile of money sitting there not doing anything, they tend to raid those. And it sets every plan we have back even farther. And when we address a need, when we see a need now, and we plan to fix it in the next 5 years, if we stretch it out to 7 or 8, it doesn't get any better in that time, it gets worse. And so when we hear things like the state taking the SERB money, all of us should be very concerned.
Do you know what percentage of the bypass roads that we're gonna have to pay?
Mr. Gamble, right, you're the next one to answer the question. Mr. Gamble, the transportation improvement projects, which ones do you see that need to be completed in the future?
Thank you.
Did you want to respond to that?
Well, I just know that we're in the process of building a bypass on the north and the south, all the way around the city, and I just wondered how much of that the county was going to have to participate in it.
Okay.
That's a major project, and if you haven't noticed it, it's well underway.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Stokes, do you have?
Chris is right, the CREV money is very important. We need to make sure that as county government, we're working with our state legislators and continue to get that funding. It is very important. I know that commissioners from Districts 1 and 3 have a list of priorities. I would certainly encourage them to just stay with that and deal with bridges that are in the worst conditions. From just my own personal feeling, I'd love to see us be able to do something with Highway 33 to the east of Perkins, the way we've improved that from the west, and see if we can't find some ways to improve that all the way over to Cushing. That would certainly be, I think, better certainly for safety, but also for economic development as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, okay, the next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Stokes. People have talked about hiring a county administrator to replace the commission system. Please comment on your thoughts about this.
I personally think that's a really bad idea. I think that we need a variety of voices, a variety of opinions and minds to lead the Payne County government. I think it would be a mistake to just do away with the system that we have and concentrate the government power into one person's hands. So I would be against that.
Okay, Mr. Reddy.
I have to agree. It's part of the central planning, the Oklahoma City is smartest mentality that we see a lot coming out of there from time to time. There's been a couple representatives and senators that have not really cared too much for their county commissioners and have therefore tried to pass laws or do things that either weaken us or make it harder for us to exist. The county administrator, the idea that one person in charge of everything could be more trustworthy or less likely to be corrupted than 3 people that are watching each other and keeping each other accountable is kind of an interesting thought, but probably not a real good practice. I think the Constitution for the state of Oklahoma that outlines the county commission system is a sound idea, and it's a good one. Each person has their own area of responsibility that they know best. They're accountable to the people that elect them and put them there. If they don't do an adequate job, the people can replace them. But as long as they're doing a good job, the people can keep them there. And frankly, I don't know Kent's roads very well, but Kent does. And Zach's roads, I drive on them on occasion, but he knows them a whole lot better than I do. but neither one of them know my buildings like I do. But we all have to come together to approve the money that each one of us spends. And so each one of us has to have a general knowledge, or at least a good knowledge of what each one is doing. We keep each other accountable in everything we do, making sure that the money for the citizens of Payne County is well spent.